The rain begins softly, as though the world has taken a deep breath and finally let it go. You lie still, and the ceiling above you grows faintly alive with the sound of water finding its way down from the sky. At first, it is scattered, irregular, a few uncertain drops touching the glass. But then, almost without your noticing, it becomes steady, gentle, persistent, like a hand reaching out again and again to remind you of its presence. You close your eyes, and you hear it differently. Rain is not only falling water. To your ears, it is a language, one that does not use words but rhythm. The drops land on the roof, on the trees, on the ground, and each surface transforms them into different tones. Together, they form a kind of orchestra, endless, without conductor, yet deeply in harmony. Science tells you that every raindrop begins its journey high above you. A tiny particle of dust, or pollen, or even a grain of salt from the ocean becomes the seed. Around that seed, water vapor gathers, cooling, condensing, until the weight of it becomes too much for the air to hold. And so the drop falls, a story written in the air, brought down by gravity's steady hand. But to you in this moment, each drop feels like more than physics. It feels like a message, like the sky has been holding on to thoughts all day, and now, finally, it has chosen to speak. You breathe slowly. The sound of the rain touches something deep in your nervous system. Researchers call this the parasympathetic response, the body's quiet switch from tension to release. Your heart softens its pace. Muscles that have been braced against the day begin to let go. The rain is not just outside. It is inside you, easing you, aligning you with its rhythm. You notice how the drops never fall the same way twice. Sometimes they come in bursts, sometimes in soft trickles, sometimes with long pauses between them. And yet, in their unpredictability, you find comfort. Because life, too, is like this, unpatterned, unscripted, yet somehow coherent. Rain teaches you that order can exist without strict control, that beauty can emerge from randomness. There is something ancient about rain. The same water that now taps at your window has fallen before, centuries ago, across forests long vanished, across mountains before they were worn down. Some molecules in the drop at your glass may have once been part of a glacier, or drifted in a cloud above the desert, or settled briefly in the ocean before rising again. The cycle of water is older than every human memory, older than language, older than fear itself. And so, when you listen, you're not only listening to this storm, you are listening to time itself, to history moving through its endless loops. Your body feels heavy now, sinking deeper into the mattress. The rain presses softly against the walls, against the glass, against your mind. You begin to imagine the sound not as water, but as voices. Faint, indistinct, like distant whispers at the edge of a dream. This is not imagination without cause. Your brain is built for patterns. It is wired to search for meaning in noise. A rustle in the grass, a crack of a branch, a rhythm of falling drops. Your ancestors learned to listen because listening was survival. And so even now, in the safest of rooms, your mind leans forward, asking, what is it saying? Perhaps it is saying nothing at all, but your body does not mind. It allows you to rest in the uncertainty, in the soft possibility that the rain could be carrying stories. Science tells us another thing. The sound of rain is special because of what acousticians call pink noise. Unlike sharp noises that jolt the mind awake, pink noise distributes energy evenly across frequencies. It creates a balance, one that the brain interprets as soothing. It masks sudden disruptions, covers harsh edges, and smooths the auditory world into something you can drift within. That is why you fall asleep more easily to rain, why your mind loosens its grip when the storm grows steady. Your thoughts drift in slow circles now. The rain is not only water, not only noise, but metaphor. Each drop is a small life, falling, breaking, and disappearing into the whole. And yet, without each drop, the storm could not exist. It reminds you of how small you are, but also how necessary, how woven into the greater fabric of things. You picture yourself as a drop, rising unseen in vapor, joining others, becoming part of a cloud, waiting until the moment comes to fall, and then surrendering downward until you touch the earth. And in touching, you disappear, but you also join everything. You are gone, and yet you remain. The whisper of rain deepens. Outside, it mingles with the earth, with the leaves, with unseen creatures hiding from the storm. Every living thing listens to the rain in its own way. Trees bend into it, their roots drinking from the softened ground. Soil loosens, rivers swell, seeds begin to stir. The rain is not only sound, not only comfort, it is renewal. Your eyelids grow heavier. The rain becomes a veil, separating you gently from the world. Its sound fills all the empty spaces that once held worry or restlessness. Like a blanket, it tucks you in, soft but unyielding, carrying you deeper into stillness. And yet, in this stillness, there is also unease. Because within the language of rain, there are pauses, moments when the rhythm falters, when silence creeps in. In those silences, you hear something else. The faint impression of footsteps in the distance. The suggestion of another presence just beyond the sound. You remind yourself, the mind hears patterns in what is random, but still the thought lingers. The rain is a voice, yes, but whose? You listen again. Drops trace paths across the window, merging into rivulets. They look like fingers trailing down glass, like gestures from someone outside who cannot enter. You breathe slowly, but your chest feels a shade tighter now. Is it the storm, or is it something else? Perhaps the rain speaks not only of comfort, but of memory. Perhaps the whispers belong to the stories of those who once listened before you, who leaned close to their own windows centuries ago, hearing the same sound. Perhaps this is why the rain feels alive, because you're not the first to wonder at its language. Because in its voice, there are echoes of all the fears and comforts it has carried across time. Your heartbeat is slow, steady, but there's a pull in your mind towards something unseen. A thought that the rain has only just begun to tell its story. That what you hear now is only an introduction. That the real message lies deeper, hidden within its rhythm. The rain has begun to speak, but it has not finished. And as you drift further into the sound, you begin to sense that the rain will soon guide you outside, into the streets, beneath the umbrella, where the storm holds not only whispers, but shadows that move when you do. You close your eyes, hearing the rain's voice carry into silence. But within that silence, footsteps begin to echo, soft, steady, almost in rhythm with your own. And so the rain leads you forward toward the shadows beneath the umbrella. The door closes behind you, and the night is full of rain. You lift your umbrella and listen to the hollow drum of water above your head, steady and sheltering. Beneath its small roof, you feel protected, your own portable sky carried in your hand. The streets shimmer silver under street lamps, and the air smells of soil opening, freshened by the downpour. At first, you hear only the drops. The rain is loud, filling every gap in the air, masking the usual city hum. Tires hiss softly in the distance. Leaves quiver with each falling stream. Your steps match the beat, a rhythm against the wet pavement. You are alone, and yet the storm keeps you company. But then, slowly, you notice it, another sound. A faint echo of footsteps, not exactly in time with yours, but close. close enough to blend, close enough to make you question. You pause. The sound pauses too. The rain thickens in the silence, cloaking everything in its endless murmur. Perhaps you imagined it. Perhaps it was only the storm reshaping noise into patterns. You walk again, slower now, ears attuned. The footsteps return, softer than yours, but undeniably there, falling somewhere just behind you. The umbrella creaks as you tighten your grip. This is how fear begins, not with certainty, but with doubt. Your brain is skilled at finding shapes in shadows, voices in static, companions in loneliness. Science calls it pareidolia, the tendency to perceive meaning in randomness. It is the same reason you see faces in clouds, or hear your name in the hum of a fan. Your mind is designed to notice, to predict, to prepare. In this way, it keeps you safe. And yet, in moments like this, that same gift can turn against you. The rain around you becomes an accomplice to the uncertainty. Each drop is a mask, hiding what is real and what is imagined. The water striking your umbrella sounds like soft applause, but beneath it, the echo of another life continues. You find yourself listening harder, your senses sharpening. Fear is, after all, an ancient teacher. It awakens you fully to the present. Umbrellas are peculiar things. They create a world within the storm, a dome of safety, yet also a narrowness of vision. You can only see so far beyond the fabric rim. Anything could be just outside that circle of protection. The umbrella guards you from the rain, but also blinds you to what waits beyond. Safety and limitation arrive together. You slow your breathing, aware now of the body's subtle responses. Your pulse beats a little faster, your muscles tense ready. Deep in your brain, the amygdala fires, a small almond-shaped cluster that processes threat. It does not ask whether the footsteps are real. It reacts as though they are. The body prepares, heart racing, lungs open, adrenaline whispering through the blood. This is the fight or flight response, an inheritance older than language. It sharpens the edges of your awareness, pulling you into primal clarity. But there is another system within you, softer, slower. The parasympathetic branch, which steadies, which soothes, which allows the mind to return from the edge. You feel both forces tugging at you now, the instinct to run and the invitation to breathe. Between them, you hover, suspended like a drop of water before it falls. You glance down. The street glows with reflections. Puddles stretch like mirrors, rippling with the weight of the storm. In the shifting silver, shadows blur and multiply. Every lamp paints elongated figures across the pavement. Some belong to trees, some to signs, some perhaps to you. Yet one, you notice, seems to linger at the edge of your own, a shadow not fully explained, its outline bending slightly differently from yours. You remind yourself again, the mind is eager to make companions where none exist. When ancient humans walked the savannas, this instinct saved them. Better to imagine a predator that was not there than to miss one that was. Fear was a compass, pointing toward survival. And still, even now, walking in the rain with nothing hunting you but thoughts, your body carries that ancient map. The footsteps return, clearer this time, in the brief pause when the rain lightens. They fall softly, but steadily, like the beat of another heart following yours. Your umbrella trembles slightly in your hand, though no wind pushes it. The science of sound tells you that water scatters noise in strange ways. Raindrops strike surfaces, bouncing vibrations across walls and into drains. What seems near could be far. What seems far could be behind you. The storm plays tricks with distance. A single car splashing through water blocks away can resemble a stride in the darkness close at hand. Yet, despite this knowledge, your skin prickles with the weight of being followed. You turn your head slightly, peering past the edge of the umbrella. The street is empty. Only water dances under the lamps. No figure, no form. Only the wet silence of a world washed clean. And still, your body does not fully believe. Fear, like rain, is not something you command. It arrives, it spreads, it runs down your spine like watered down glass. And just as no drop can return to the sky without first touching earth, fear must land, must be felt before it can fade. You let yourself notice it fully. The pulse, the breath, the trembling hand. To resist fear is to fight a river, but to feel it is to float upon it. So you walk on, slowly, step by step, carrying both the umbrella and the question. Each footfall becomes part of the storm's percussion. You're not certain if the echo is yours or another's. But perhaps certainty is not the point. Perhaps the rain has drawn your attention here to remind you of something essential, that safety and fear are not opposites, but companions. That without the shadow, the shelter means less. That to feel watched is also to feel alive. The echo grows fainter now, or perhaps you no longer chase it with your ears. You breathe deeper, noticing the way your body softens with each exhale. The rhythm of rain returns to dominance, a lullaby ancient and impartial. Your umbrella glows under the streetlight, a fragile shield between you and the endless sky. Beneath it, you remain suspended, half in comfort, half in wonder. Your mind wanders again, carried by the storm. What if footsteps are not only sounds? What if they are memories pressing against the edges of your senses? Every drop that falls has been here before. Perhaps every sound, too, carries echoes of the past. Could it be that what you hear is not someone behind you, but the rain itself, remembering the countless feet that have walked before you? Science may not claim this, but imagination does. And in the quiet meeting of both, you find rest. The street narrows ahead, the houses pulling closer together. A window glows faintly, its glass streaked with rain. And in that light, you sense something, not footsteps now, but eyes. Not behind you, but before you. A gaze waiting at the glass, fixed in the night. You walk on, the echo fading into the rain song. Yet as you lift your eyes, the shimmer of a window holds you still. Because sometimes the rain does not only carry footsteps. Sometimes it carries the feeling of being watched. You stop in the rain, your umbrella trembling slightly in your hand. Ahead of you, a row of houses sits in silence, their walls slick with water, their roofs glistening under the dim glow of streetlights. But it is not the walls or the roofs that hold you. It is the windows. One window in particular seems alive. Its glass is streaked with rivulets, tiny rivers twisting downward, merging and parting as though following secret paths. The storm paints its own patterns there, but behind the shifting curtain of rain, you sense something steady. A presence. The feeling of eyes, though the window is still, unblinking, faceless. Every house has such a window, the one that feels less like a barrier and more like a gaze. Even if no one is there, you cannot shake the weight of attention. It is not only superstition, it is your mind's design. Humans are exquisitely sensitive to being watched. Studies show that even the faintest suggestion of eyes, even painted dots resembling pupils on a wall, can change your behavior. You move differently, breathe differently when you believe you are observed. A whisper of vigilance presses at your chest. And here, in the storm, the rain seems to give the window breath. Drops slide down like pale fingers, slow and deliberate, as though something behind the glass were tracing lines outward, wanting to reach, but never quite breaking through. You cannot look away. Your umbrella becomes heavier in your grip, the hand holding it sore from tension. The rain presses harder now, as if to blur your view, but instead it sharpens it. The world around the window disappears into shadow. The glass gleams alone. You wonder why the idea of being watched unsettles you so deeply. After all, you're always seen in mirrors, in memories, in the quiet archive of your own mind. Yet the difference is this: to be watched by yourself is to be safe. To be watched by the unknown is to surrender control. It is to step into the vulnerability of not knowing what lies on the other side of the gaze. The science of perception offers one explanation. Your brain carries what psychologists call the agency detector, a system evolved to notice when something around you might have intention, might be alive, might be capable of action. It errs on the side of false alarms. A shifting shadow, a rustle of leaves, a window bright in the storm. Your mind whispers someone. Because long ago, if you ignored a watching predator, you paid the price. Better to feel eyes where none exist than to miss the gaze that meant danger. Yet this instinct also feeds imagination. And imagination, here in the rain, grows fertile. The house itself feels alive. The window feels less like an opening and more like a pupil, the storm glinting in its watery iris. A building becomes a body. The glass becomes its unblinking eye. You shift slightly, and for a moment the reflection of your umbrella crosses the window. You see yourself faintly there, shadowed, bent by droplets. You wonder if this is what you truly sense. Not another watching you, but your own gaze returned. A conversation of self with self. Yet even knowing this, the unease lingers. Raindrops pool at your feet, filling the cracks in the pavement. You listen to the hiss of water against gutters, the rush of streams into hidden drains. The whole city feels alive with flow, every surface slick, every sound blurred. And in the midst of all this motion, the window remains steady, fixed, refusing to move. Science tells us the human eye is drawn to faces above all else. Even newborns, hours old, turn toward face-like shapes. It is in your nature to search for eyes to lock onto gaze. Windows mimic this. Their symmetry, their glow in the dark, their framing within walls. All of it recalls the structure of a face. A house with windows becomes more than shelter. It becomes presence, and presence, in the quiet of night, can tip into watchfulness. You think of the countless lives that may have passed behind that glass. Families gathering, arguments unfolding, laughter spilling into corners. How many faces once pressed against the pane, watching storms just like this one? Perhaps what you sense is not current at all. Perhaps the window holds the memory of every glance, every gaze that ever leaned into it. Glass, after all, is a keeper of moments. Unlike wood or stone, it is transparent. It has always existed to be looked through. Another drop slides down, carving a slow path. You follow it as though we're handwriting a message coded in water. You know the drop is only obeying physics. Adhesion, cohesion, gravity. Molecules clinging to one another, pulled down by the weight of Earth's attraction. Yet when you watch closely, it feels deliberate, like the slow tracing of a finger spelling out what cannot be spoken. Your chest tightens with the thought. Science offers explanation, but not always ease. Knowledge that a sound is only the storm, that a shadow is only the lamp, does not erase the deeper instinct, the part of you that still waits for the unknown, the unseen, to reveal itself. Perhaps that is what the rain teaches most, that knowing and not knowing live side by side, that you can explain the drop with molecules and still feel it as a message, that you can see glass as chemistry and still feel it as an eye. The storm deepens. Thunder rolls far away, softened by distance. You feel the base of it in your chest, the sky's reminder that it too is alive. The lightning does not yet reach, but but the air carries its charge. You stand still, the umbrella bending slightly in the wind, and the window continues to glow, an unyielding watcher. You imagine stepping closer, pressing your palm against the glass. Would it feel cool? Would the rain-warmed surface surprise you with its heat? Or would you feel nothing at all, only smoothness, only the boundary between you and the space inside? Inside, that is the thought that pulls you. What waits behind? Empty furniture, dust in corners, or perhaps a figure unseen, waiting as you have suspected, watching as you watch. You blink, and in that moment, the pattern of droplets shifts. For a heartbeat, you think you see movement, a flicker of shape, a curtain stirring though the window is shut. Or was it only the lightning, distant and muted, painting illusions on your sight? You cannot be sure, and so you remain suspended, half in fear, half in wonder. The rain whispers its endless rhythm. Your breath matches it, slow and steady, though tension still curls at the edges. The storm has drawn you deeper into attention, deeper into the strangeness of being watched, whether by eyes real or imagined, whether by memory or reflection. You take one step back, the puddle splashing softly beneath your heel. The window stays the same. It does not follow, it does not change. Yet the feeling persists like a weight across your shoulders. You walk on, turning away, though the sense of gaze clings to you as tightly as the rain. And as you move down the street, away from the glowing square of glass, you begin to notice something else. The houses thin, the light falls away, and the road stretches darker and longer before you. The rain continues, softer now, its song gentling into a steady hush. It is not the window that holds you anymore. It is the emptiness of the road ahead, wide and wet, silvered with rain, but utterly deserted. You leave the window behind, but its presence lingers, like an unseen hand pressed to your back. Ahead, the storm opens into a road that waits, empty, endless, glistening in the rain. And the silence of that road feels heavier than the storm itself. The road stretches out before you, long and glistening, framed by shadows that lean close in the rain. Midnight hangs heavy, and the world feels emptied of movement. The storm is thinned now, softened into a gentler fall, but its rhythm still drapes over you, steady, endless. Each raindrop flickers in the light of street lamps, like silver threads unspooling from the sky. You walk slowly, umbrella balanced in your hand, the tip tapping softly against the pavement. Beneath the steady patter of water, the drains sing with their own low music, streams funneling downward, swirling, vanishing into the earth. The sound is hypnotic, like whispers pulled underground, carried away where you cannot follow. And yet, above this watery song, another sound is missing. No inyensom. No tires hiss against the road. No bicycles rattle past. The street is yours alone. A wide, shining path, yet utterly deserted. Silence, you realize, is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of space. Your ears, tuned by evolution, are never at rest. They stretch outward, searching, waiting to catch signals that might mean safety or danger. In the absence of those signals, your brain leans into the void, filling it with expectation. This is why silence feels heavy. Is your mind bracing, listening harder, asking what hides behind the emptiness? The road glows beneath the lamps, painted silver by the rain. You notice how the droplets scatter light, each tiny sphere acting as a lens. Physics tells you this is refraction, light bending as it passes through the curved surface of water. To your eyes, it becomes shimmer. To your mind, it feels alive, as though the ground itself were breathing with pale fire. You walk further. The houses thin, replaced by stretches of trees that drip quietly in the storm. The branches sway, their silhouettes tangled, bending with the wind. Each trunk casts a darker shadow across the glowing street, long arms reaching into your path. You step between them, the air cooler here, heavy with the scent of wet bark and leaves. And then you see it, far ahead, faint and flickering. Headlights, twin beams cutting weakly through the mist. Relief stirs in you. You are not alone on this road. But the lights fade quickly, swallowed by the rain, vanishing before you hear any engine, before any wheels splash against water. You wait, expecting them to reappear, but the road remains empty. The glow you thought was company is gone. You stop walking. The silence deepens. The storm, though constant, now feels thinner than the space it tries to fill. Your breath sounds too loud in your own ears. Why do headlights comfort you? Because they mean presence. They mean motion, another mind awake in the night, another witness to share the road. Humans are wired for connection. Even strangers, glimpsed only in passing, remind you that you are part of a larger web, a moving constellation of lives. Without them, the emptiness spreads, and you are left adrift in your own solitude. Yet solitude is not always loss. In silence, in emptiness, your body can slow, your mind can expand. Research shows that the brain at rest is not inactive at all. It enters what scientists call the default mode network, a web of regions that light up when you daydream, when you wander in thought, when you reflect. In silence, creativity stirs, memories surface, your mind sifts through the day, reorganizing, weaving meaning. Perhaps this road, empty at midnight, is not only a space of fear, it is also a space of possibility. You listen again. The rain sings softly. Your steps echo faintly. The drains gurgle with water drawn down. And in that simplicity, you find rhythm. The world has reduced itself to only a few voices, and they carry you like a lullaby. Still, the memory of the headlights lingers. Did you truly see them? Could your eyes, tired, have mistaken a reflection for movement? Science explains how vision is never just input, it is prediction. Your brain guesses what it expects to see, filling in gaps when the world is unclear. A shimmer of rain, a bend of light, and your mind may have painted headlights that were never there. This thought does not unsettle you, it fascinates you. To know that perception is not fixed, that reality is partly your brain's creation, is to see how mysterious even the simplest road can be. You walk on, feeling both the weight of solitude and the wonder of imagination. The pavement gleams darker here, the lamps growing fewer. Your umbrella catches each drop, the drum of water steady, but the silence between strikes feels longer. You glance upward. The clouds are breaking slightly, thin ribbons revealing a faint shimmer of stars. Their light is weaker than the lamps, yet it feels older, truer, as though it has waited patiently behind the storm to be seen. You think of how far that starlight has traveled, thousands, even millions of years, only to arrive now, at this moment, to meet your eyes on an empty road. The rain blurs it, softens it, but cannot erase it. Even in solitude, even in silence, you are not entirely alone. The cosmos has been walking beside you all along. Your steps slow. The night deepens. You feel a balance between stillness and unease, between the road's emptiness and its quiet invitation. And then, faintly a sound. Not footsteps this time, not headlights, but something closer, more deliberate. A tap, soft, steady, insistent. At first, you think it is only the rain, but it does not match the storm's rhythm. It seems separate, too precise. You walk further, and the tapping continues. Louder now, clearer, like a hand against wood, or perhaps knuckles against the door. The road is silent. The lamps are dim, yet the sound persists, threading itself into the fabric of the night. You pause in the middle of the silver road, the tap echoing faintly through the rain. Not footsteps, not headlights, something else, patient and deliberate, waiting for you to listen. And you wonder if the storm has brought you not silence, but a knock that never ends. The sound begins so quietly you almost miss it. At first, you think it is nothing more than the rain shifting against the window pane, a stray branch brushing against the wall, or perhaps the pipes sighing with the weight of the storm. But then it returns, 3 taps, soft and steady like knuckles against wood. Not hurried, not harsh, almost polite. You listen. The rhythm of rain is random, scattered, tumbling. But this sound is different. It is measured, intentional, as though someone or something waits outside in the dark. Your heart begins to move faster, though your body remains still. Evolution has wired you this way. When faced with uncertainty, your senses sharpen. Long ago, your ancestors survived by detecting faint patterns in the noise of the world. Footsteps in grass, the snap of a twig, the whisper of movement in the dark. Tonight, you inherit that same instinct. The knock is simple, but your mind knows it does not belong to the storm. You rise slowly, your breath shallow, and walk toward the door. The house feels alive with silence, every creak of the floor magnified under your weight. The lamps flicker faintly, and the shadows in the corners seem deeper than before. Still, the knock continues. Soft, patient, never rushing, never loud enough to be urgent, but steady enough that it cannot be ignored. What is it about repetition that unsettles you? Perhaps it is because rhythm implies agency. Rain is chaotic. Wind is wild. But a knock, repeated, belongs to intention. Somewhere beyond the door, intention waits. You pause before the wood, close enough now to feel the faint vibration of each tap. You do not open it. Instead, you listen more deeply, pressing your senses outward. Knocking, in its way, is communication. Even animals use such signals. Woodpeckers drum against trees, not only to carve out nests, but also to call to one another, their staccato beats echoing across the forest. Certain insects tap surfaces with tiny limbs, vibrations traveling farther than voices in the dark. To knock is to say, I am here. Notice me. The thought steadies you. Perhaps the sound is less threat than message. Perhaps it is a reminder that even in solitude, the world seeks connection. You step back from the door. The knock does not follow you. It continues at its same patient pace. 3 taps, a pause, 3 taps again, like a code you cannot decipher. Your mind drifts to the science of sound. Knocking is vibration carried through wood and air, pressure waves reaching your eardrum. What feels like mystery is, in part, physics, a ripple in matter traveling across space. And yet, knowing this does not dissolve the feeling. It only deepens it, because physics reminds you, every sound must have a source. Still, you do not open the door. Instead, you sit quietly, lowering yourself onto the floor, your back against the wall. You let the rhythm seep into you, like a metronome counting time. Strangely, it lulls you. The line between fear and sleep blurs, for both demand stillness, both ask you to surrender. Your eyelids grow heavy. Between the knocks, the rain fills the silence, weaving a lullaby. You drift into the soft threshold between waking and dreaming, where images bloom like watercolors. You see roads stretching endlessly, silver in the rain. You see faint headlights that flicker and vanish. You see doors upon doors, all closed, each with its own knock echoing through the night. This liminal state is precious, scientists say. It is the hypnagogic state, the borderland where your brain loosens its grip on order, allowing fragments of memory and imagination to intertwine. Great thinkers have lingered here. Thomas Edison once held metal balls in his hand as he napped, so that when his muscles relaxed and the balls fell, the noise would wake him, capturing him in this in-between space where ideas spark. Salvador Dali painted visions that came to him in this drifting light of consciousness. Perhaps this knock, never-ending, has guided you here, to the threshold where perception stretches. You half dream now. You imagine opening the door, though in truth you have not moved. In your dream, the rain has stopped. The street is clear, glistening with stars. And before you stands not a stranger, not a shadow, but the echo of your own self. Another you, waiting patiently, knocking to be let in. The image fades as your head nods forward. You blink, returning to the dim room, the sound still steady at the door. Talk, talk, talk. It has not ceased. You wonder, could it be the house itself? Buildings, after all, are never truly silent. What expands and contracts with temperature, pipes shift, stone breathes with changes in moisture. Scientists call this thermal expansion, the physical world adjusting to its environment, like a body stretching in sleep. Perhaps the knock is not a visitor at all, but your shelter speaking back to the storm. The idea comforts you, but only briefly, because the taps are too regular, too deliberate. They do not wander. They do not fade. They return again and again, like a question that refuses silence. You breathe deeply, slowing your thoughts. In meditation, teachers often guide you to focus on repetition, on the rhythm of breath, or a mantra spoken softly within. The knock, you realize, has become its own mantra, not chosen by you but given, a reminder to listen, to remain awake within stillness. The fear softens into curiosity. What if the knock is not meant to be solved but heard? What if its purpose is only to keep you here, present in this quiet hour, suspended between sleep and storm? You close your eyes again, letting the sound merge with the rain. Time loses shape. You cannot tell how long you sit, minutes, perhaps hours, only that the knock remains, unhurried, unchanging. And then, without warning, it stops. The silence that follows is heavier than the sound itself. You strain your ears, searching for the rhythm to return, but the world has gone still. Only the faint patter of rain remains, soft and uneven, as though mocking the perfection of the knock that came before. In that silence, you feel your body sway with exhaustion. Sleep tugs at you, stronger now, pulling you deeper into the night. Yet the absence of a knock is louder than its presence. Your mind leans into it, aching for the rhythm that once unnerved you. You lie down, curling against the floor, and close your eyes. The rain becomes your blanket, the silence your pillow. Sleep arrives in fragments, carrying you gently across the threshold. But before you drift completely, you hear it once more. Faint, almost imagined. Tap, tap, tap. Not from the door this time. From somewhere else. Somewhere deeper, not outside but within. You realize, in the haze of near dream, that the knock may not come from wood or rain at all. Perhaps it has always been inside you, echoing in rhythm with something older, something waiting. And you wonder if the next sound you hear will not be a knock, but the pulse of the earth itself. The storm has softened into a steady hiss, as though the sky itself has become static. You lie in the quiet dark, listening. The sound reminds you of an old radio left between stations, its voice neither silence nor song. At first, it feels random, tiny bursts of water colliding with roof, window, and earth. But the longer you listen, the more it begins to shift. Within the static, shapes appear, not of sight, but of sound, tones curling at the edges, arranging themselves into half-familiar rhythms. You tilt your head, listening closer. The hiss begins to pulse, to rise and fall, until words nearly form. You tell yourself it is only your mind. Humans are wired to search for patterns. Scientists call this pareidolia, the tendency to see faces in clouds, hear voices in noise, or find meaning where none is intended. Your ancestors evolved this way. Better to imagine a predator in the grass than to miss its real approach. A false alarm may bring fear, but a missed signal could mean death. And so tonight, your mind makes patterns from the rain. But the longer you listen, the harder it is to dismiss. The sounds align too neatly. Pauses fall where senses might. Inflections rise like questions, fall like answers. You close your eyes, and the voices seem clearer, soft, hushed, not threatening, but insistent. They do not speak full words, only fragments. Half-formed syllables, echoes of a language you almost know. It feels like remembering a dream, on the edge of clarity, but never solid. Still, the effect is undeniable. You're not only hearing noise, you are hearing whispers. You let yourself drift into them, as though tuning into a frequency hidden inside the storm. Static, after all, is never truly random. Long ago, scientists discovered that some of the hiss in an untuned radio does not come from machines or even from Earth. Part of that static is older, far older. It comes from the beginning of the universe itself. The faint echo of the Big Bang still hums across the sky, stretched thin over billions of years, until it whispers through the air as background radiation. When you hear static, you're also hearing time itself, murmuring across the cosmos. This thought steadies you. Perhaps the whispers are not ghosts, not intrusions, but memories. Perhaps they are the sky remembering itself. You imagine the early universe, hot and dense, exploding outward in every direction. As it cooled, light finally slipped free, cosmic microwave background radiation. It has traveled ever since, filling the universe with a faint hiss, like rain across an endless field. When scientists placed their antennas toward the heavens, they expected silence. Instead, they heard static that refused to vanish. At first, they thought it was pigeons nesting on the equipment. But no, this was no bird, no storm, no error. It was the sound of the universe's birth, still speaking. You breathe deeply, letting the rain become that static, that cosmic whisper. Suddenly the storm outside your door feels larger, as though each drop carries not only water, but memory. And still, the voices continue. They grow softer now, as though moving farther away, yet more numerous. You hear not one, but many, overlapping, each trying to form through the hiss. You cannot tell if they are kind, curious, or indifferent. Perhaps they're all three at once. Your heart steadies. Fear gives way to wonder. Language itself is nothing more than patterns and noise. Air pushed from lungs, shaped by tongue and lips, carved into rhythm. To communicate is to impose order on chaos, to sculpt meaning from vibration. Tonight, the rain does the same. The static sculpts whispers, and you listen. It occurs to you how fragile communication truly is. Think of the brain. Trillions of neurons sparking in patterns, electrical storms carrying thoughts across synapses. Even inside yourself, language is static made clear. Your mind whispers constantly, half words, fragments, images, and from that static, you choose meaning. Perhaps the storm is no different. Perhaps the whispers are only your brain extending outward, hearing itself echoed in the chaos. And yet, some part of you resists this explanation, because the voices feel too alive. You shift on the floor, your ear closer to the window, and the whispers swell again. This time, you hear laughter, light, delicate, gone in an instant. Then a sigh, then silence. It is as though the storm carries fragments of lives that are not yours. Scientists study something like this too. Stochastic resonance. The way weak signals hidden in noise can sometimes become clearer when the noise increases. Imagine a voice too faint to hear, but when static surrounds it, the fluctuations amplify the hidden signal until suddenly it emerges. Without the noise, you would never know it was there. Without the storm, you would never hear these whispers. You wonder now if you are experiencing such a resonance. Not imagined, but real. Maybe the rain does not invent voices, but reveals them. Perhaps the world is always full of hidden signals, waiting for the right static to bring them forth. Your eyelids grow heavy, but your attention sharpens. The voices do not frighten you now. They soothe you, as though reminding you that solitude is an illusion. No one is ever entirely alone. Not when the universe itself whispers through every drop of rain. You think of the ocean, where whales sing across hundreds of miles, their songs traveling through water like poetry stretched thin. You think of forests, where trees communicate underground through fungal networks, roots sharing messages of hunger, danger, growth. You think of space, where pulsars spin, sending out radio waves in steady beats like celestial heartbeats. Everywhere, life and matter whisper through static. The voices in the rain join this chorus. You're not meant to understand them fully. You're meant only to listen. Time passes strangely. Minutes stretch, collapse, blur. You do not know if the whispers last an hour or a moment. But eventually, they fade again, receding into the storm until only the steady hiss remains. You are left with quiet, but not silence. The static lingers, softer now, like a blanket pulled over the earth. You close your eyes and imagine yourself as a receiver, like an old radio left glowing in the dark. The universe hums all around you, endless channels overlapping, most unheard. Tonight, for a moment, you tuned into one. You caught the faintest signal, voices brushing against your mind like moth wings in the dark. And though they are gone, you feel changed. Because you know now that every noise holds possibility. Every sound may carry a hidden message, waiting for the right ear, the right night, the right storm. The rain softens further, its static thinning. Sleep tugs at you, deeper this time, and you let yourself drift. But just as you surrender, one last whisper curls through the hiss. Softer than breath, yet sharp enough to stir your heart. It says nothing clear, only a fragment, a half syllable, but it feels directed at you, as though the universe leaned close for one instant and spoke your name. You sit up, startled, listening. The rain falls steady. The static hums, but the voice does not return. Instead, a new thought rises in you, gentle and persistent. If whispers hide within noise, then perhaps the earth itself carries a deeper message. Perhaps beneath the surface, below stone and soil, another voice waits, older, slower, speaking not in syllables, but in pulses. You breathe, letting the idea settle like a seed. The static fades, the storm drifts, and in the silence that follows, you lean inward, as though pressing your ear to the ground. You wonder if the next sound will not be a whisper at all, but a heartbeat rising from beneath the earth. The bridge stretches before you like a thread of wood suspended in water. Rain pours steadily, silvering the planks, turning each step into a soft echo of your presence. You slow your pace, unsure if it is the sound of your own feet or something else that reaches your ears. Ahead, through the blurred curtain of rain, a figure waits. Still, silent. You pause, drawing the umbrella a little closer above you. The bridge itself feels ancient, weathered by countless storms, worn by footsteps that have long since disappeared. Its wooden boards creak faintly beneath the weight of the world, each creak blending with the rain's endless whisper. And there, in the middle of that crossing between two banks, the stranger stands. They do not move. They do not call. The shape is neither near nor far, but suspended in the exact place where uncertainty thrives. You cannot see their face, only their outline, blurred and softened by water, like a charcoal sketch smudged by a careless thumb. You breathe slowly, the way you do when trying to steady the unknown. The rain fills the air with static, masking every sound but its own steady fall. Yet somehow, you sense it, the weight of another's attention. It is not the look of a predator, nor the warmth of a friend. It is simply a presence. Bridges have always been places of waiting. They connect one world to another, one moment to the next. You stand at the entrance, the figure at the middle, as though this bridge itself were a timeline, and they were stationed exactly at the point you must cross to continue. You wonder, are they waiting for you? Or have they been standing long before you arrived? Waiting for no one in particular, waiting only because there was nowhere else to go? Your hand brushes the wooden rail, wet with cold. Water drips down your sleeve. The world narrows to three things: the storm, the bridge, and the silent watcher. Your thoughts drift into the nature of observation itself. Scientists once asked, does watching something change what it is? In the quiet language of physics, the answer was strange. A particle, so small that it defies vision, behaves differently when unobserved. Left alone, it spreads like a wave, uncertain and free, living in all possibilities at once. But when measured, when seen, it collapses into one reality. You think of the figure again. Perhaps, by watching them, you shape their existence. Maybe they were only shadow until your gaze turned them real. Or perhaps it is the other way around, that by watching you, they have chosen this moment for you, defining a path you cannot yet understand. The bridge groans softly under a gust of wind. You step forward. One step. Two. The sound echoes, fragile, but the stranger does not flinch. Their stillness is absolute, a mirror against your own hesitation. Rain pours harder now, drumming against the planks, cascading into the river below. The water surges, thick and restless, carrying away leaves, twigs, fragments of the world. You think of rivers, how they carve valleys, split mountains, shape the land over centuries. The bridge is a temporary defiance, a line stretched across a force that never sleeps. And perhaps the figure is the same, a still point in the middle of relentless flow. Closer now, you see more, shoulders heavy with soaked fabric, arms hanging at the side, a tilt of the head that suggests patience or maybe curiosity. Yet the face remains hidden, blurred in shadow and rain. Your heartbeat slows, almost against your will. Something about their quietness settles into you, dissolving the urgency to act. You remember how human beings evolved to read faces, to find patterns in eyes and mouths, to decode intention in the smallest curve of muscle. But here, you are denied that code, and so the mind fills the gap. Fear, hope, wonder, suspicion, all swirled together, unprovable, unanswered. It is in these gaps you realize that stories are born. The stranger is a blank page, and your imagination is already writing upon them. You pause again mid-bridge. The air feels charged, not with lightning, but with possibility. You think of the science of anticipation, how the brain constantly predicts, constantly prepares for the next moment, even before it comes. Neurons fire not only for what is, but for what might be. You are not seeing the stranger alone. You are seeing every version of what they could become. And so, you stand in a universe of maybes. The rain thickens, a veil between you. The river beneath swells. You sense time stretching, as though the bridge were not only wood, but also memory, an arc across past and future. The stranger feels less like another person, and more like a possibility waiting to be chosen. You think of bridges again. In some cultures, they are thresholds, places where spirits linger, where decisions weigh heavier than elsewhere. A bridge is neither land nor water. It is an in-between. And in the in-between, you realize you are not entirely yourself. You are both the one who fears and the one who wonders, the one who hesitates and the one who steps forward. You breathe, slow, deep. The figure does not move, yet something about their stillness feels alive, as though silence itself were speaking. You feel your pulse, your breath, the rain tapping against your umbrella, and the low groan of the planks. Each sound is a thread, weaving you into this exact moment. You think again of being observed. In physics, an experiment suggests that reality itself may depend on the act of watching, that outcomes are not fixed until someone looks. If this is true, then perhaps your meeting on the bridge is not yet written. Perhaps it is waiting for you to choose whether to cross or turn back. The figure remains, silent, waiting. The thought comes quietly. Maybe the stranger is not outside of you at all. Maybe they're the part of yourself that stands ahead, patient, unblinking, waiting for you to arrive. The rain falls, the wood groans, the river runs. You take another step, another, and now, only a few paces separate you. You think of how perception blurs at the edges, how the eye is drawn to contrast, how the brain fills in what it cannot see. And you realize, even if you reach them, even if you look closer, the stranger might never fully reveal who they are. Because the mystery is not theirs. It is yours. The bridge stretches onward, its far bank half lost in shadow. Somewhere beyond, the road continues. Somewhere beyond, another question waits. You stand in the rain, suspended between choice and mystery. And the stranger does not move. The silence between you feels almost like speech, a language too quiet to translate. And as the rain softens into mist, you wonder, if every bridge hold a watcher, what might wait for you on the other side of the next crossing? The hallway stretches long and narrow, lined with doors on both sides, each one identical in shape and frame. The air smells of damp wood, of paint that has absorbed too many storms, of time itself lingering in corners where light seldom reaches. The rain outside filters through cracks in the roof, dripping slowly onto the floor. Each droplet marks the silence with a soft rhythm, a heartbeat echoing through the corridor. You walk carefully, your steps slow, measured. Every door you pass feels ordinary, unremarkable, though your hand hovers over the brass handles as if testing their weight in thought. Behind them, you imagine simple rooms, bedrooms filled with dust, storage spaces forgotten, closets holding only shadows. Nothing in them calls to you, but at the far end of the hall, one door does. It is darker than the others. It's what's swollen from rain, edges curved as though breathing faintly. The surface gleams wet, reflecting the dim light in uncertain shapes. You pause, studying it, and you know without touching that it is heavier than the rest. Heavier not only in matter, but in meaning. You take another step, the floor creaking underfoot. A slow awareness rises in you. That sense of gravity pulling, not from above, but from ahead. The air thickens. You feel the fine hairs on your arms shift, as though tuned to a frequency too low for sound. Every hallway is a sequence of choices, you think. One door, then another, each a branching path. And yet, the human mind does not walk hallways lightly. It imagines what lies behind every door. Sometimes, the imagining is enough to shape the choice itself. You stop before the door at the end. Your reflection blurs on its slick surface. The handle gleams faintly, damp with condensation. You do not touch it. Not yet. Your thoughts drift into the science of thresholds. A threshold is not simply a line. It is a state. Neurons in the brain fire when a certain limit of stimulus is reached, crossing from silence into action. A chemical reaction begins when enough energy gathers to push atoms over their invisible walls. Even water itself changes state only when thresholds of heat are passed. Solid becoming liquid, liquid becoming vapor. Always, the world waits at edges until enough has gathered for the crossing. The door is such a threshold. You can feel it more than see it. A threshold not of wood, but of meaning. You place your hand gently on the handle. Cold, metallic, the texture roughened by time. And suddenly, you notice the quietness. The rain still falls, the droplets still touch the floor, but here, so near the door, silence feels deeper, like a pool of still water beneath the sound. You breathe slowly. The thought comes, why do closed doors stir such unease? Perhaps because the human mind is wired for completion. To see a question is to want an answer. To see a door is to want to know what waits behind. Curiosity is not an indulgence. It is survival. The brain seeks patterns because life once depended on them. Reading rustles in the grass. Reading shadows at the cave's mouth. A door is simply a shadow given form. Something hidden. Something possible. Yet this door feels heavier than curiosity. It feels alive with possibility, as though the very wood holds memories swollen into its grain. Your palm rests on the handle, but you do not press down. Instead, you imagine what lies beyond. Perhaps it is only another room, dark, filled with water stains, forgotten furniture, echoes of footsteps. But perhaps it is something else. A place where memory and dream intertwine. A place where science bends in a story. You think of how the mind itself is filled with doors. Each memory is a chamber, and each chamber has its own handle. You choose some daily, opening the door to a name, a face, a detail of where you left your keys. But others stay shut for years until a smell, a song, or a stray word turns the handle without warning, and suddenly a memory you had buried long ago floods through, alive again. The door before you feels like such a memory, something you have not touched, but that has waited patiently through years of silence. The rain trickles through the ceiling in steady rhythm, each droplet striking like a clock. Time is passing, you realize, not in a way of hours and minutes, but in the way of choice. Every hesitation is itself a movement. Every stillness is its own direction. You stand at the edge of crossing. The science of hesitation is as fascinating as it is human. Psychologists speak of decision points, of the brain's tug of war between impulse and restraint. When faced with uncertainty, the mind simulates outcomes, running small rehearsals in the theater of imagination. This rehearsal, though unseen, shapes the body. The heart quickens, muscles tense, sweat beads on the skin. You are not merely thinking about the choice. You're already living parts of it. And so here, at the end of the hall, you live many versions at once. The version where you open the door. The version where you turn away. The version where you touch the handle and never press. All are alive inside you, flickering in and out of possibility. You notice your breath. Deep, slow. The rain's rhythm steady. The silence dense. You lower your gaze, staring at the tiny droplets sliding down the handle. They cling, resisting gravity until they cannot, and then fall. You wonder if you are the same, clinging to hesitation until the weight grows too much, until you too must fall into a choice. The wood of the door shivers faintly, though perhaps it is only the house settling under storm. Still, the image lingers. You imagine the door itself aware, waiting, as though you and it are two parts of the same equation, observer and observed, each shaping the other. In physics, they're doors too. They are not wooden, but energetic, barriers that particles cannot cross unless they gather enough force or borrow from chance. Sometimes, though, particles do the impossible. They slip through barriers appearing on the other side as though the wall were never there. Scientists call it quantum tunneling. To you, it feels like the perfect metaphor. Even when something seems impassable, nature finds a way through. Perhaps this door is such a wall. Perhaps you are not meant to break it, only to slip through in ways you cannot yet imagine. You press the handle down. It does not move. You press again. The latch stays stiff. Locked. The realization is both relief and disappointment. Relief because the choice is taken from you. Disappointment because the mystery remains sealed. But then, softly, you notice something. The silence behind the door is not empty. It feels thick, as though space itself bends in its frame. And for a moment, you feel sure that whatever is beyond is listening. You step back. You release the handle. The door glistens in the dim light, swollen with rain, heavy with silence. It remains what it was, a threshold. And you, still on this side, remain at the edge of it. You turn slightly, looking back at the hall you walked. Each door along the way ordinary, silent, waiting. Suddenly you understand, it is not only this one door that matters. It is all of them. Every step is a choice. Every handle is a possibility. The end of the hall is not the end at all. It is another beginning, one that pulls you deeper into the labyrinth of paths you have yet to walk. You listen to the rain. You breathe the damp air. And though you have not crossed the threshold, you feel changed by standing here, by placing your hand upon the weight of the unknown. The locked handle lingers in your palm, colder than before, as though carrying its own memory. And as you walk back through the dripping hall, you wonder, if every closed door is a question, then what waits behind the ones that finally open? The house feels quieter than it should. The rain still whispers against the windows, still hums against the roof, yet somehow its sound does not enter here. It is muffled like a dream pressed under glass. You breathe slowly, as though each breath must be chosen carefully, placed carefully. And then you notice them. The first footprint shines faintly on the wooden floor, as if water itself has shaped it. You pause. You know your own steps, the way your weight falls, the curve of your toes. This is not yours. The rain has not touched you, yet these marks are wet, dripping into the tiny cracks of the boards. The trail begins near the door, though the door remains closed. Locked even. You glance toward it, knowing the bolt was drawn earlier, knowing no one should have entered. Still, the prints are there, beginning impossibly from inside. You follow them with your eyes. They lead forward, stretching across the living room in slow arcs, each step deliberate, each heel pressed firmly into the wood, as though whoever walked here knew exactly where they were going. The footprints shine like tiny mirrors, reflecting slivers of lamplight. They are not fading, as they should. You move closer, listening. The silence is thick, as though the air itself is waiting. Your own steps are careful, yet the sound of your movement seems too loud, almost intrusive. You crouch near one of the prints. The water is fresh, cool against your fingertips. You draw your hand back quickly. The prints continue toward the hallway that leads to your room. You hesitate. Fear and curiosity hold you in equal measure. Fear says, stay here, do not follow. Curiosity says, find out what walks where it should not. You step forward, and in that step you notice something strange. The prints are not entirely human. The shape is almost right, the toes aligned, the arch curved, but the spacing is off, the stride too long, too measured, as though calculated rather than natural. You think about rain, how it falls without choice, without mind, without decision. And yet, in its patterns, people hear voices, music, whispers. Perhaps your mind shapes order where there is none. Perhaps these prints are only echoes of dripping water, gathering into forms your imagination cannot resist. Still, you follow. The living room stretches behind you now, fading into dimness. Ahead, the hallway waits, narrow and pale. The prince leads straight into it, the rhythm of their steps unwavering. You notice how each one is identical in depth, as if no weight has shifted from side to side. Perfect symmetry, a walk not quite alive. As you step into the hallway, you feel the change. The air is cooler, though no window is open. The walls seem closer, the ceiling lower, the shadows thicker. Each footprint gleams under the faint light, a silver path leading you forward. Your heartbeat slows, though you're not calm. It slows because everything else slows, as if time itself has chosen to match the rhythm of these strange steps. You reach out to the wall, steadying yourself. The paint feels damp beneath your hand. Perhaps the rain has found its way inside after all. Perhaps the house breathes with the storm outside, inhaling its water, exhaling its silence. You continue. The prince approach your bedroom door. The door is slightly open, though you are certain you left it shut. From the gap, no light spills. Only darkness waits. You pause again. The urge to stop is strong, yet the trail insists on being followed. You realize that your fear and your curiosity are no longer separate. They're the same thing, woven together like threads of one fabric. You step closer, and as you do, you notice something new. The footprints are no longer wet. The last few prints near your door are dry, though their shape remains clear. They're not water anymore. They are impressions in the wood itself, as though the floor has softened to receive them. You kneel, touching one. The wood dips gently, molded as if by heat or pressure, then hardens again beneath your fingers. You rise slowly. Your door waits. The prints stop there at the threshold. They do not enter. You push the door wider, the hinges groaning softly. Darkness greets you, but not emptiness. You sense the room filled with presence, though nothing moves. The air is thick, charged, as though lightning has passed through and left its breath behind. You do not step in. Instead, you stand there listening. And in that silence, you remember something. How snow records the passage of deer. How sand holds the brief story of birds. How even the vacuum of space carries invisible trails. Streams of particles flowing like unseen rivers, charged by the winds of stars. Everywhere in the universe, there are footprints, though not all belong to feet. On the moon, astronauts left marks that may last for millions of years, untroubled by wind or rain. On the ocean floor, creatures etch winding paths in silt, fragile signatures erased by the next current. In your own body, memories leave traces too, patterns in the neurons, grooves in the mind. Every footprint is a memory, every path a story. Perhaps these prints across your living room are not intrusions. Perhaps they are reminders that even silence carries a trail, that even absence leaves a shape behind. You close your eyes, listening deeper. The rain outside has softened. The house seems to hold its breath. And in that stillness, you feel the strange comfort of knowing you are not the only one who leaves marks in places unseen. When you open your eyes again, the prints are fading, slowly, gently, as though absorbed back into the floor. The water dries, the impressions smooth away. Soon, nothing remains but bare wood, shining faintly under the dim light. You stand there, quiet, unsure whether to step into the room or to close the door. Either choice feels equal, balanced. And so you linger, listening, breathing, feeling the silence expand. Somewhere in that silence, you wonder if the walls themselves might hold their own hidden marks, waiting to be uncovered in the next room or the next chapter of the night. The storm has thinned to threads, no longer a curtain of water, no longer a wall of sound. It lingers in fragments, gentle drops tapping against glass, scattered beads sliding down rooftops, hesitant drips from the eaves. The sky itself seems lighter, as though its chest has finally exhaled after holding breath too long. You listen, you wait. The rain is quieter now, yet it still speaks. Its voice is no longer a roar, but a whisper, softer, slower, closer. Every drop feels deliberate, every fall word. You lean toward the sound, and in its rhythm you hear something unexpected. It says your name, not loudly, not even clearly, but undeniably. A syllable carried in the hush of water, a sound shaped exactly for you. You freeze. You know water does not speak. And yet, here it is, carrying memory, carrying presence. For a long moment, you wonder if this is the final trick of a weary mind. But then you think of what sound truly is. Air moving, surfaces trembling, vibrations traveling. Every word, every song, every whisper you have ever known has been nothing more than patterns in the air. Rain, too, moves air as it falls. Rain, too, creates patterns. And perhaps, by chance, one pattern has aligned into meaning. Or perhaps chance has nothing to do with it. The whisper repeats. Your name again, stretched thin through drizzle. You realize that the rain has become personal, not just weather, but a presence aware of you. You breathe slowly, carefully. Water has always known how to carry voices. In caves, drops echo like heartbeats, repeating for centuries until walls remember them. Across oceans, whales send their songs through waves of pressure, their messages traveling farther than any human word. Even within your own body, water carries signals, electrical impulses dancing along cells, rhythms that keep your heart alive. You're full of whispers already. Perhaps this one belongs to you too. The rain lessens. A fine mist now, barely visible. You step closer to the window. The glass is cool beneath your fingertips, and the outside world blurs behind droplets. Trees sway gently, relieved of their burden. Pavement gleams, silver veins stretching into the distance. Clouds drift, revealing faint hints of moonlight. And again, the whisper comes. A final call, softer than before. It carries weight, not of command, but of recognition. It is not trying to claim you. It is trying to remind you that you are part of its story as much as it is part of yours. You let yourself sink into that thought. For rain is not merely weather. It is a cycle older than mountains. The same water that now touches your window may have once risen as vapor from an ancient sea, may have fallen on forests long turned to stone, may have frozen into glaciers, melted into rivers, drifted into clouds again. Every drop holds history, and tonight it speaks your name. You close your eyes and listen to the science beneath the poetry. The whisper is the signature of randomness becoming pattern. Each raindrop strikes at a slightly different time, a slightly different angle. Together, they form rhythms. Your brain, searching for meaning, stitches those rhythms into shape. The whisper is real, not in the air, but in your perception. And what is perception, if not the truest reality you know? The storm is almost gone now. Only faint drizzle remains, like a secret being told for the last time. You realize something. Endings always carry whispers. Stars burn furiously, but in their final collapse, they radiate more quietly, more steadily, turning into white embers that glow for eons. Forest fires rage, yet their ashes whisper nutrients into the soil, feeding the next generation. Even people at the edge of their lives often soften their voices, speaking truths too delicate for anything but a whisper. The rain is teaching you this. The final voice is never loud. It is always gentle. You place your forehead lightly against the window. Coolness seeps into your skin, a calm counter to the warmth of your breath. You let the last drops guide you inward, and you wonder, why does the whisper know your name? Maybe because names are patterns too. They are sound carved into memory, vibrations taught to others so they may call you closer. Water, always listening, may have carried your name countless times before, on lips of friends, in laughter, in sorrow. Perhaps it has collected these echoes, and tonight it returns them. A drop slides slowly down glass. You follow it with your eyes, tracing its path as it joins another and another until it vanishes into a stream at the bottom edge. Each drop, a tiny life. Each drop, a journey ended. The whisper comes one final time. Softer still, barely sound now, more like feeling. A presence brushing your awareness. It says your name, and then it falls silent. And when the silence comes, it is vast. No more rain, no more whispers. The storm has ended completely. The world outside is washed clean, stilled. Leaves glisten, streets shine, air smells of earth and renewal. The silence is not empty. It is full, rich with what has passed. You feel it around you like a cloak, like a tide that has gone out but left treasures on the shore. You exhale. You realize you have been holding breath again. In this silence, you hear other things. The faint hum of electricity in the walls, the distant ticking of a clock, the quiet rhythm of your own pulse. Sounds that were hidden before, now uncovered by absence. The silence is not void. It is a shift in attention. It reveals what was always there, waiting. The whisper is gone, but its echo lingers. You carry it now as memory, as imprint. And you understand something simple yet immense. All things leave whispers. Stars, rivers, trees, storms, even people. The universe is a library of whispers, and you are one of them. You step back from the window. The room feels changed, though nothing has moved. The floor is the same, the walls the same, the quiet lamp still glows. Yet the air carries new weight, the kind of weight that comes after listening deeply. You wonder how many whispers you've missed in your life. How many moments of rain that spoke but were drowned out by hurry, by noise, by distraction. Tonight, you have heard one, truly heard, and it feels like enough. Your eyes grow heavy. The silence deepens. The night begins to fold itself around you, like a page closing slowly. And yet, even as you drift, curiosity stirs. If storms leave whispers, what do stars leave? What do galaxies say when their light finally reaches you? Does the universe itself speak in a final voice, carried across unimaginable distances? The whisper has ended, but the question remains. And as sleep begins to gather you, you wonder if rain can speak your name, what messages might be waiting in the starlight, still traveling toward you even now.